Hey everyone, and I really didn't want to do this video, and I know I don't have a huge audience, but I really need to say this because God has really been pushing me to do these videos, and these are some very serious videos. So the what this lesson is all about is I want to say I had previously shared about the 3 days of darkness. I didn't know what it meant, and I prayed that God would give me understanding recently. And I want to say this is the title. The 3 days of darkness is real. And I'm telling you right now, it's imminent. We are days and weeks away from this event that I will call the 3 days of darkness. I've had, and this, I would say this is like 2 days away, anywhere from 2 days away to about a month away is my guesstimate. From just the dream, the way it felt, and events in my life, timeline of events in my life. So I had this terrible reoccurring dream, and I've had this for months, and I'm pretty sure exactly this was the dream. And many times God hides the dreams from me, like He won't tell me, He won't show me until He wants to release it. Then I'll pray and pray. Finally, He'll give me the dream. I don't remember my dreams as the most part. So I asked God to finally show me my dream, and I've been fasting as well. So, and I don't normally say this, but I'm just saying it as a matter of fact, because I wanted that. It seemed like God was telling me to fast, and I got sick. There was just various reasons. I was traveling, and it was very difficult for me to fast. Or I felt like every time I tried, something would happen. And but this time I'm actually doing it. So. But anyways, so I've had this dream for months, but I didn't know what it was because it always felt the same, and it just completely disturbed my sleep. This happened to me a few times before, like 4 or 5 times before, especially, where I was just like I knew something was almost torturing my sleep. And I've had previous dreams, and I was very restless as well in my sleep as I was trying to sleep. And I've had previous dreams, like the first one was that fire of God dream that I had back in December of 2019. And then I had two, a war in the Ukraine and the terror attacks here, attempted civil war in the United States. Those were approximately April, May time period of 2023. That there would be lone wolf gunmen and the terror attacks. And the war in Ukraine has happened exactly as God showed me it happened. So now it's almost completely all soldiers dying, huge amounts of soldiers, very few civilians. Where in the beginning it was different. It was the opposite. And I shared it April 2023, where I've had the dream, April, May time period, and released I think November 2023. And then I've had other dreams that I've shared, like the preparation of the promise, how I felt like God I haven't been trained fully to what God wants to do with me. And I shared that. That was probably 2 years ago as well, or a year and a half ago. And then I shared the prophetic word of the 3 days of darkness. But God gave me the words 3 days of darkness. I didn't know what it meant, or really, I just looked it up because I had no idea, honestly. And then I shared about a dream about the car terror attacks, how I had ran off the road into a ditch on my bike. The day after, a guy in an SUV, an African-American guy, ran into a bunch of people it was a Labor Day parade, and killed a whole bunch of people at a Labor Day parade as an act of terrorism. The next day I was hit by a same color SUV, knocked me clean off my bike, into the ditch on a road in Georgia. And then I've had the terror attacks. I've had, I knew hours beforehand that the Tops Buffalo shooter, somebody was going to do a large terror attack and shoot lots of people. And then as well, I knew about the New Orleans, the guy with the car that ran a whole bunch of people over. God let me know a few days ahead of time, that one. And so I've had these dreams. These are prophetic dreams that have come true, and most of the time they come, I'm disturbed in my sleep. So, and then I've also, I want to say that I shared about the shaking in Thailand. I showed the pictures of God showing me videos of Thailand. Now I know nothing about Thailand, never been there, don't know anybody there. So I kept on getting these pictures in my feed, in my YouTube feed of Thailand, of events in Thailand. And so I shared a few weeks beforehand the pictures of the videos that I had looked at and seen that happened before the Thailand earthquake that destroyed that one building completely. And then I had shared about the Israeli pilot incident where it was actually a terrorist attack on a U.S. He was an Israeli. He worked for the IDF, which is an Israeli Defense Force. He had come back and they had burned his car, 2 cars actually, and basically tried to intimidate him, apparently. So, and then I've shared about 3 future events that haven't happened yet, but will happen. Where I talked about the future of America, the Bono prophecy, and the partially failed Artemis lunar mission. So I've shared details of those. And so what I'm going to share probably later today or tomorrow is also a dream that I was just, I've had 2 dreams where I was severely disturbed, but it was regarding personal issues. And these were soul ties. And I'm going to share one of them so that you understand and you'll have clarity on what I'm saying. And I'm going to do that probably tomorrow or today. And so I was, this dream that I was sharing, I woke up last night and I was very disturbed over this dream, extremely disturbed. And normally when it happens, it's a prophetic thing that's going to happen. But again, I said that God wouldn't show it to me. So I fasted, and I've been fasting lately. And so here's the dream. I was in a dark house. It was a house where people partied frequently. So at the time the dream started, I think there was a whole bunch of people in there partying. There was drugs and alcohol. There were people indulging, and I'm sure there was immorality, that type of stuff. But it was just, a group of people just partying heavily. And in my life, I've been in groups where I was a teen. I was actually in a fraternity, and I've been in churches as well. And for these groups, like I've been a part of, especially when I was younger, groups that were heavy partying, heavy drinking groups. But I was always kind of like that person that, I'd have a beer or 2 and hang out, but I wouldn't, I wasn't the heavy partier, but I was always around these people for some reason, And then I went to churches where there was, stuff going on that shouldn't have been happening. A lot of stuff. And so that's my past. So it obviously makes sense why I would be in a house where all these people are partying. And the thing is that I wasn't indulging. I was just kind of hanging out there, but I was separate from these people. And so then after the party was going on for a while, there was one other person that was kind of like me. And the funny thing is, we started noticing that there was a change in the sky. Like, we started noticing all these people were getting drunk and doing all, immorality, drugs, all that stuff. And they weren't noticing it. We started noticing that there's some event going on in the sky. And I felt kind of like that it was dark 2 or 3 hours earlier, and maybe some other events were happening in the sky. But in this house, it was dark as well. So, which, can have some meaning to it in itself. So, and then the others were just they weren't even paying attention. They were just partying. And so the other guy, me and the other guy that weren't really partying, and we kind of took it as an omen. We said, something's going on here. Like, this is not normal. And so we started immediately. The house is full of these crappy metal and glass windows, the really old, probably 60s, 70s windows with cranks on them and all that stuff. And we're trying to frantically trying to close the windows, because we realize it's the 3 days of darkness. It's here. It's coming. That this was the sign, the 2 days, that the sky getting dark 2 hours early, and whatever we saw in the sky is that this was the 3 days of darkness. So we frantically start shutting the windows, stuffing things in the windows that we couldn't close. The windows had these horizontal plastic shades, those old, those cheap kind of Walmart shades. And we were doing everything we could do to basically shut the windows and put stuff over the windows so that we were safe. And then there was the gate, the back door gate was open, and it was kind of broken, so we were sitting there barricading the doors, closing off the gates outside, said nobody could enter. And And then the darkness came. It was 3 days of darkness. And it was just me and that person all alone in pitch dark. And then, so we could see and hear the demons outside. And we could hear the screams of people, that that they were attacking people. But, the thing is, we still felt like the place was still very insecure, like the actual building itself. And then the dream ended. We didn't know what happened to the people that were partying. They could have lived, we could have died, we don't know. And so when I woke up from the dream, but in the dream too, we realized we just barely made it. We were safe after the 3 days, but we just barely made it. We were extremely terrified and scared from the experience. And we're not sure what happened to the other people partying. We don't know what happened to them. And that was the end of the dream. So, and I want to say this, that these other prophetic dreams I have, they've all come true. Everything I've shared, it always comes true. And there's, 3 events that haven't happened yet that I've spoken of. And I believe they will come true exactly as the Lord told me. And the last dream that was this personal dream that was shared was that Israeli attack. And the pilot, I should say the event of the Israeli pilot. And I really believe that was what I shared in that video, the confirmation video. And that happened 2 days after. So when I first started getting these dreams, it was back in December of 2019. And I didn't realize the dream. Actually, I realized 2 things from it recently that I was like, wow. But when I first had these dreams, it was back in December 2019. And the actual answer to the dream came 2.5 years later. It's come progressively. So God has given me, and in that dream, I was basically talking about how fire came through a bunch of trees at me. I was sitting in front of a tree line, but probably a quarter mile away or so. And all the trees started on fire. I could see it from many, many miles away that this fire was coming. And finally it was coming, but it didn't stop at the tree line. It came right at me. And I was sitting, at the time I was living in Mississippi, and I was living near a bunch of cotton fields. And so in the dream, it was dusk. It was near dark. The sky was like a funny color blue, but as well, I was wearing boots, and the ground was turned over, like it was ready to sow the seed. And so that has meaning to it. Actually, the boots and the ground being turned over, ready to sow, is actually a prophetic thing. And so now I want to talk about what the meaning of this is. And I really believe what I'm telling you is the truth. And I have to share it, and I'm not going to back down because God really wants me to share it. So